Just a quick stop off of Mementos to take care of the small fry targets before we go back to getting the big fry targets. I mean, using the Phantom Thieves' usual methodology, which is talk about how they need to go after a large target and then do nothing. Nothing at all. I mean, I swear, if I was heading up the Phantom Thieves, which I guess technically I am, but if I really was, certainly, Ryuji, you keep checking the website. Mishima, go look for recent arrests because you apparently have that ability. Try to find people that are clearly patsies for larger crimes. I'll go start grilling some of the names that you come up with in Mementos.
Yeah, let's organize. Let's get organized. Let's delegate responsibilities. Form a scrum team.
Yeah, Morgana, you do whatever you did to go find Kamoshida's palace in the first place, because you didn't know who Kamoshida was when you found it. It is still wacky to me that we're still doing the old, wait around until somebody tells us what we're going to do.
Well, to be fair, I mean, I don't really thrive at a new job until I've been there 6 months. So
I suppose so, but at the same time too,
he's kind of flaky. Morgana, that is.
Well, yeah, that is very true. I mean, it's still frustrating how a lot of the stuff that we don't actually know about Mementos, it's like it took until Yusuke asking on 612 to get those questions asked in the first place. For example, there's still the thing of how did Morgana find Kamoshida's palace in the first? Yeah, whatever. But the other thing too is that you starting a new job is not literally trying to change society's perception of law and order.
Well, yeah, and it's much more difficult and complex. Well, not really. I mean, I guess I've got a really complex job. I mean, what I do is
and to be fair, I suppose the Phantom Thieves actually don't have that complex of a job. We talked about how everything is all very, very contrived in terms of making sure that they're never wrong in the actions that they're doing.
Oh yeah. Imagine if you went to a job and just every day, you did something and then everybody's like, "Oh, you're really great for doing that. You really know your stuff."
Well, except when they're but people who you don't know online are always making fun of you.
Yeah. And
then basically the faceless masses hate you, but people that you actually know all love you the instant they start to talk to you.
And then when you're on the train, everyone's talking about the villain that you need to get. Everybody's like, "Oh yeah, hey, I hope somebody gets that villain that they're after." I don't know.
That is something that they should. Speaking of that though, that is there is something to be said about the fact that they are actually going after a real career criminal this time, as opposed to Madarame or Kamoshida, who had a much more clean public image until they confessed their crimes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is a smart option comparatively. Going after somebody who nobody is going to defend as a good person, even though they don't already.
Yeah.
Well, certainly it would be a good way to prove yourself to the police.
Yeah, it makes it a good philosophical thing where it's so the only way people can the conversation, it's so you can't really, nobody's gonna defend. Okay, look, I can't defend Madarame, I can't defend Kamoshida. Those guys are pieces of shit. However, I do have some problem with the non-elected authority, and that's where we're at basically.
Yeah, that is that. Yeah, and that is almost literally what Goro said. So. If we went after somebody who's just the police were already trying to target them, so,
By the way,
of course, it's you could just see this as it was just a pathetic ploy to try to get on the good graces of the police, which they'd be correct, but
Mm-hmm. To be clear, they're talking about Mishima, right? When they're talking about Moto.
Moto, I think, was supposed to be a. I tried to look it up when I was originally doing the transcript and everything. I think it's supposed to be a uncommonly used honorific, but I'm going to be real. I could not find anything confirming that.
But is she generally talking about Mishima here?
It's
that
but it's very strange that even in the collective unconsciousness when we're talking to her shadow archetype and everything, that she's still referring to him as M. But yeah, that's what's happening.
Well, she seems like a really convincing sadist, but it's just this weird context where she's saying these sadistic things to somebody who's clearly of equal power, like at least, like, oh yeah, you got 4 people who can, maybe kill you. It's pretty close. It's like a pretty close run thing. And then she's saying all these sadistic slogans like she's asking somebody to lick her feet.
Yeah, licking your feet is the classic S&M type of thing. But also at the same time, this is the shadow archetype we are facing right now. It's like, it's not supposed to be a reasonable human being.
That's a good point. Yeah. And I mean, I think it's well written as a sadist. Like, she's definitely... That's what sadists say.
They said licking boots. It's like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, this is actually one of the force targets that you got to do, because this is appearing directly in front of the entrance to the next layer of mementos. So, yeah. Unlike the other things you fight in I guess the closest, like Nakanohara's encounter, for example. But it doesn't really seem to have much to do with the plot. Maybe we'll be seeing this a little bit more when talking to Mishima, if he is in fact M.
I disagree, though. First of all, Mishima definitely seems like he's a masochist. No offense. Like, just the way that he talks. He seems like he would be a masochist.
In this episode of Shitting on Mishima, the internet's premiere podcast, because I've been
I'm
doing
saying,
that.
Like, I was reading in this book that, like, in a certain way, sadomasochistic relationships are the healthiest kind of relationship, because both parties are getting exactly what they want long term. There's no illusions.
I don't know, man. I mean, Mishima did send us on this mission in the first place. When I said that it was involuntary dick flattening, I'm still gonna hold to that one. Because it's like you don't call upon supernatural means to get people to stop being sadomasochistic.
Well,
unless
he's also a total cock. That's why he's sending us here. And not to say anything bad about him. I'm not trying to shit on him.
No, of course not. All right, that was just the generic, hey, we got a target in this area, so I didn't do the transcript for that. But yeah, let's get a little bit of look at what the new area is. It's pretty much the same as the previous area, except it's got a yellow filter over it. But hey, even Datara is like just straight up a regular enemy. This was the guy that we fought to get Yusuke on our side in the first place, so
wow.
That's something. I mean,
also, that is a really, like, interesting character design. Like, you just ran over that kind of horrible monster, and it turns into 2 of these things.
Oh yeah, I mean, I actually really like the look of the. Oh, also here's a good example of like the elemental items that I haven't really been using up until this point, and normally would not have access to ice. But yeah, no, I really like the look of the shadows in Mementos, how they are like a big amalgamation of a bunch of different masks and like shadow bodies like crammed into one. But of course, it's like I've gushed a lot about the design here. But I still think Mementos, it's like one of the big tenets of the Royal, at least from how I understand how they were going about it, was to try and make Mementos a little bit more interesting. Hence, you get characters like Jose there to mix stuff up. It still is very similar to what we've already seen, which is pretty cool looking, but it's still very similar to what we've been seeing.
Mm-hmm.
I guess in some ways, you get that sort of Tartarus type of style. Persona 3, that was kind of like the main dungeon in there.
Mm-hmm.
Where you got like the progressively adding dynamic music every time you go into one of the new areas, but even then the lack of changing up of backgrounds and everything is
Also, I just want to say, as much as we've been shitting on the game, I mean, I have to say it's interesting, the choice of targets. It seems to be just generally bullies, and there's some psychological depth to this, like, behind his customer service smile he's extorting his employees. Yeah, I've worked for a place like that.
Yeah, especially like how this starts out with a big old Irish, I must say.
Yeah, it's all about results. I don't need you questioning my results.
Sure. I don't know. I don't think I've ever worked for anybody that's quite that bad, but
that's true.
I mean, it is. Well, then you get stuff like this. Maybe subtlety just kind of, screw it, let's just do the fight already. And then he goes like full-on Kamoshida with his speech right here.
It's like you guys are just trespassing.
I mean,
oh, he actually says that. Wow. Okay, I
yeah.
guess I missed that when I read the transcript, but I missed that line. So.
Well, you're the only person that's going to read the transcript, so hey, thanks for that at least.
I've decided to start reading the transcript because there's like 5 minutes of text in this whole video, and
well, that's because it's mostly gameplay comparatively, which is sort of a rarity in this game. What can I say?
Well, there's usually.
Oh, Persona 5 is pacing issues? What?
Yeah. Somehow there's 5 minutes of dialogue even when it's a dialogue-heavy episode. I don't know how that works.
Well, they're all dialogue. Almost all of them are dialogue.
Oh yeah, I know. It's
More,
just a weird paradox. How
freaking Ryuji, how'd you miss twice?
Probably talking.
How does that even happen?
You need to focus, kid.
Yeah. I mean, I outfitted you with like all the best guns and everything immediately in the game, and it's like you're missing. That's the ability to use like the wind attack is even very specific to Ryuji. That's an item that I specifically gave for Ryuji, and he's wanging it so hard.
So I know you can't go back on this, but 10 seconds back, there was that moonhead thing that was just really horrifying. Like it was one of the attacks you could have used. What was
that's one of the persona that I get. That is Sandman, another classic demon.
Sandman. I don't know.
Yes. Usually one of the more jobber type of demons from the old school Megami Tensei games. I mean, you probably see he is one of the old Kaneko designs. And like he's got the sleep ability.
Make you go out of sleep.
Yes. And I do also have Ipundatara myself, so bring him out because, much like in his own battles, he does some pretty good physical attacks. Why not?
Nice.
And you get technicals by having like the enemy stunned with lightning, which is still an aspect of the game that I like quite a bit. It lets you still get criticals and everything like that without trying to exploit weaknesses, which is, as you go through the game, and especially as you're fighting bosses, become rarer and rarer.
Mm-hmm. So when you do you switch to a persona when you do that?
Yes. Yeah, whenever I'm looking at the different persona, I am usually switching to like get different skills or different resistances. For example, like getting big physical resist would probably be good against this guy, or even physical immunity. Yeah. Of course, there are plenty of. I'm just like trying to fish for some sort of weakness here, but really like going for the technicals was probably the better idea anyway. Because he does have pretty heavy resistance to physical attacks when he is not actually stunned, frozen, something that I can get technicals with. He's trying to lower my accuracy, but it's not really. I guess that would be an excuse for Ryuji, except he also missed before he even tried to do that move in the first place, so I still fully blame him.
Can I ask a really obvious question? Why is
yes.
attacks seem to do like all of my questions are really obvious, I know, but like why is it that some of the attacks do like 13 damage and then others do like 150? I mean, even by a critical standard, like in a D&D type game, or even just critical in general, that seems an extreme variance. Like, what's going on with that?
I mean, I think it's mostly because he was resistant to physical attacks, so I was just trying to like get some big physical attacks out there to finish him off because he didn't really have a whole lot of health left. But even then, the resistance was still absorbing most of the damage that I was doing.
Mm-hmm. So
resistance is not
matters a lot.
Yeah, it's not quite full immunity, but man, can it really do enough? I think the real reason for like resistance versus complete immunity is to prevent like you from like getting hit with criticals when it comes to physical attacks.
Okay.
Because you can't do any damage at all, much less critical. But you can critical even if you're resisting most of the damage from it. And that will put you in bad position and allow enemies to get an extra attack.
I see.
Yes. It varies based on location. What is the point of this conversation right now?
Hey, yeah, it turns out the world isn't even in this nether world. It's not just an unbroken, like matrix like 100 doors that are all exactly equally spaced.
If anything, telling us if it was all the same amount for each area would have made more sense than telling us that it just kind of changes because, one I might not have noticed and the other doesn't matter at all.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, since there wasn't really too much else to do when it came to going through each one of the rest of the areas, I just kind of skipped to the next door. Yeah, it's exactly what you'd think it is. Yeah. You gotta get more popular. There you go.
How much popularity does that door represent?
25%.
Ooh, that's a VIP door.
Well, I mean, as of right now, we're to 19%, so I think we're doing pretty good. No, I have no idea what it's so like. What's more popular? Like, what do you want?
20% of people knowing who you are. That's a huge number of people.
Well, none of this makes any sense.
Well, I mean, you think about how many people in the world have heard of like Taylor Swift. Like probably 20%, maybe even less. That actually seems kind of high.
I mean, I do know who Taysway is. It's true.
It's true. Yeah. And I know what year she was born in.
I don't.
Okay.
I do know she's called Taysway though, which I wanted to flaunt that knowledge right now because I thought that was important.
I did not know that. I am out of the loop perpetually.
And yet you know what year she was born.
That's true.
Wait, why is that relevant information?
Because it's an album. It's also an album that she released.
Okay. I guess that's a good save.
1989.
Well, anyway, this character here, you're supposed to be fighting on like a rainy day or whatever. I don't know. I didn't do that. Maybe shows that maybe I should have, but
I love
it's
this
cool,
character.
man.
He's so fucking cool. I wanted him to win and become the new Phantom Thieves.
I'm the new Phantom Thieves. He's a guy that just goes around punching people, right?
He's just a little gnome with like a leaf. He's just.
Also, we saw this guy. Well, actually, I suppose we didn't really see
me, little ones. I guess to you, I must look like the little ones, but in fact, I'm 70 feet tall.
Anyway, this is a very common enemy in the last palace. I guess you didn't really see that because, I cut out most of the bites. But
no,
yeah.
I didn't. I'm the only one of me.
Well, it's true in that way. There's only one Heijiono, as we know. He says his name all the time. But yeah, there we go. Can do an all-out attack if Joker is incapacitated, frozen in that particular case. So that's something.
What is he saying?
What do you mean? He's just casting sleep ability.
Okay, does he talk?
No, I mean, well, he talks outside of fights.
Fair enough.
Because, he's a character, but...
That is such a great Ryuji falling animation. Just like, what a dope.
Every single time.
How do you fall on your face every time? Like, it's back up. He's cool.
Yeah, no, it's fine. That's Ryuji all over. Always getting back up.
Uh-huh.
Let me tell you my life story. You beat me. It's like you think you'd be shaking these guys down, trying to be all like, hey, tell us what the next target is. Worked pretty well with Nakanohara, but like, come on. I mean, that's what I was talking about, where it's like all you gotta do is just go. Mishima already has access to like databases of criminals and whatnot, which is how he knew about the main character in the first place. Just go get names there, target them in mementos, and then shake them down afterwards. They're very, very receptive to telling you whatever you want to know after that point.
What is this guy's crime, by the way? What does he do?
Oh, he was the guy that went around in Kichijoji starting fights, and then saying, asking for recompense, or else he would like sue them or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, it's kind of a dick move.
No, it's a real dick move.
Yeah.
He basically was just doing it because he wanted attention. So,
Mm-hmm.
but
Well,
of course, it's like the Phantom Thieves have all of the sympathy for this guy, but none for like the shop owner.
Yeah,
Or
listen,
the
old man, we're all lonely. We're born into this world alone, and we're all gonna die alone. It doesn't give you the right to fuck with people's lives.
Well, thankfully, he did continuously say his name over and over, so at least we could fuck with his life pretty easily. And yeah, sure, whatever. I guess that's good.
Mm-hmm. Now, this if we assume that Mishima is actually a masochist, then that last conversation is very telling. He's like, oh, he was totally humiliated. It was totally. I would hate to be in that situation.
I mean, as always, no empathy though, so it doesn't really matter either way.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, we're gonna talk a lot about how we need to go after big target, and then do nothing until somebody comes up from off screen and forces us to go after a big target. Or I suppose strongly suggest in the way that Nakanohara did.
Mm-hmm. I think that high school detective. I think it would be really cool if they need to get like precocious clothes and dress up like Willy Wonka.
He's already got the metal case with the big A on it. Like he's.
I know. He's not going far enough with it. He just looks like a little bit of a precocious, prodigy kind of thing. But I think he would look better if he just went full tilt and just started dressing like the Riddler or something.
I don't know. I think he basically is. Like, you don't. Yeah, he looks like Apocalypse from the X-Men comics and cartoon. He's got the big A belt.
Yeah, but
like,
he's still dressed. I mean, he's still like in business casual or
what sort of teenager carries around a briefcase, especially in this day and age?
Oh, I know. I'm just saying, like, complete the look. Like, I can't wait to see what his persona looks like because I bet it's ridiculous.
Well, we've already seen what he looks like as a Phantom Thief in the very beginning of the game, so.
Oh, okay. Well, I totally missed that.
I won't spoil it for you if you don't remember.
Well, I mean, I could go back and watch it, but I mean, yeah.
I think you'd specifically have to watch the Royal version because they didn't give them big avatars that were only barely silhouetted in the original version. But it's like
he should have a top hat and a baton in his other hand that's not holding the briefcase.
Oh, that's more main characters thing. That's kind of what Arsene looked like.
Sucks.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I know, and it's like he would probably deserve the more traditional Phantom Thief type of attire, but I don't think it's gonna happen. I guess I don't know what his persona looks like exactly, but given what he looks like as a Phantom Thief, I don't think it's gonna be very what you want it to be.
It just sounds like a rumor, which means nothing in this game because all the rumors are fucking true. They're always true and they're always relevant.
But what about all the rumors about the main character?
Well, those are relevant and true.
But they're not true. But we do need to take every rumor that we hear as being true.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. Because they are all true.
Yeah.
And relevant. Imagine that, like, just like going around the world, like, where, oh yeah, everybody's crosstalk is like, oh my god, I actually need to hear that because that's going to be directly relevant to my success as an individual. Like,
and yet they don't actually do that. They don't actually take it seriously most of the time anyway.
Yeah, like oh, I heard that Taylor Swift was born in 1989, and I'm just like having to take notes on that. Just like, oh my god, that is going to turn out to be relevant in like 3 days.
Why? No. Is it going to turn out to be relevant in 3 days?
I don't know.
Give me the reasoning behind your hypothetical.
Look, we can go into this, or I can hit some dingers.
Ah, okay. Oh, wow, check out that dinger.
Ooh,
oh, that's an amazing one.
That's nice. It seems you still don't understand the horror of acid rain.
You know what? You just hit that one straight up in the air. But you caught it in your mouth? Oh my god, that's amazing.
Oh, yeah. This is brilliant.
Well, anyway, have my doubts about what Hiruta is talking about here, but
why is
what do
he
you?
smiling when he sings this? Perhaps someday a deadly rain
Also,
will...
for the love of God, game, if even you're getting sick of this, I think I made the right decision in starting to do the English instead. Yeah, I like. There's at some points where I really wonder if the game does have a bit of self-awareness about how I'm at a loss for words right now.
Is that a catchy, or the...
Yeah, that's Goro.
Okay.
I don't even. Sometimes I just wonder if this game knows.
I mean, what
It's like they
she's saying-
can't, right? Nobody would make 100-hour game like this, and it's like, yeah, but we know, right? Yeah, but like that's kind of the joke. No, that's like something I would do for a series. Okay, well, anyway, yeah, gotta go meet up with Makoto, which is no surprise. She's been hounding us for the entire game at this point.
Yeah.
By the way, it was not earlier than I expected because I forgot where the room was. There was a very clear cut there for good reason. Okay, yeah. Timelines are blurring together. Both sisters grilling me at the same time right now if the framing device is in fact happening in the way that it's happening, and I doubt that. I'm fairly certain that that's just still taking place in the metaverse, but you know what I'm saying.
So you think the older sister is listening through the computer or something?
No. I mean all those future scenes.
Oh yeah, of course. Okay.
But it's like well, anyway, who knew that the whole thing with Ryuji talking very loudly was in fact a plot point? Like this is okay. Here's the thing. Yes, this is actually very much super in character for Ryuji, so that his own stupid idiot assholeness is what gets us caught in the first place. But at the same time, it's like, oh man, this is ridiculously contrived. That it's like only because they were always talking about it loudly and in public.
So wait, really? So the reason this is going on, just to be clear, is because Ryuji was talking loud?
Well, I mean, you remember that scene where it's just like it pans around to show that Najima was just kind of standing there the
I
entire time.
remember that very well. That was a really funny reveal. Like,
Yeah, well, as it turns out, that's a very plot-relevant reveal, too. So, this is what I'm talking about. It's like, is the game just mocking me right now? Because this is stupid. This is stupid. This thing that's happening on screen right now, this is stupid.
Of all the things Ryuji could say right there, that is the funniest thing.
I mean, in some ways, it's like, yeah, this is a good gag, but it's also seriously having an impact on what the plot is right now.
What is the translation for that idiot, by the way? What is that in the
Yeah, the baka.
Just it says baka.
Well, I didn't know exactly what it was, but yeah, that's what Morgana said. Like, this game, I tell you, it's so many things just happen for the sake of the plot. And it's like there it felt like that was a purposeful parody, but I can't tell.
It would be amazing if this game completely hinged on Ryuji just being dumbass and loud.
That's certainly what this plot is. This part of the plot is. I just like it feels like the game is specifically like, you think we're being a little bit too. You think this plot lacks subtlety and things just kind of happen for plot reasons. Well, now we're doing that on purpose. So I
think we're gonna have to kill Makoto.
You know, the funny thing though is, well, yes, but the funny thing though is it's like the meeting of Yusuke and the rest of the Phantom Thieves actually had absolutely nothing to do with their Phantom Thieves activities. You remember that it's like Yusuke just kind of walked up to Anne and was like, hey, please be my model. So strangely enough, this sort of fated meeting would have happened regardless of if the Phantom Thieves were doing anything or not. So Yeah, you know, just saying that things just kind of happen for the sake of plot. Oh, that would raise suspicions. It's like, yeah, it would if it wasn't actually totally coincidental anyway. But of course, what isn't important in this universe?
So does she become a party member?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Like famously.
Okay, fair enough.
So yeah, I thought it was going to be Rikaichan that made us go after the next target or whatever, but it's like, hey, as it turns out, nah, it's Makoto. But for basically the same reasons that I thought, you know, to kind of like prove their justice to her.
Yeah, I think that was a good frame. By the way, that was a good framing device where they had her interrogating him. Like, I thought that was really effective as far as this game goes.
Yeah, I mean, it also gives, you know, more of a reasonable reason as to why exactly the main character wouldn't be talking a whole lot. Whereas usually it's just kind of like people talk to the main character and he doesn't say anything. But it's like, oh, you're supposed to be grilling him. That makes a bit more sense.
I think it's funny that I don't know, just shitting on Ryuji for like the whole time. It's like, hey, I know I'm
It is his fault.
Look, I know I'm not as bright as you guys, but I guess
Like,
I can't defend myself. I'm not
Damn,
bright enough.
Ryuji, you're real dumb.
Listen, I try my best, but I don't know what I'm doing. I kind of do things arbitrarily.
It's like the one thing you had to do was not talk loudly and in public. Of course, it's just like then they go talk loudly in public about their Phantom Thieves activities in a big old restaurant, but still.
I mean,
It's like I said, it's just go to Mementos if you're going to be meeting up.
the thing is, I don't think it's a bad thing that they have like meetups in public, because I mean, drug dealers, they meet in like, you know, Starbucks or whatever. It's McDonald's. I mean, that's not like out of the ordinary. The problem is that they always seem to meet in the same spots, like in the school and stuff, while they're talking loudly about it. That's the part that doesn't make sense. You can do
And
it
while they know that somebody is, well, that people are like watching them.
Yeah. What if somebody has a bug on them? What if somebody's putting surveillance software on their phone? They're not exactly infosec experts.
Also, you know, they don't notice when people are standing in front of them, so that's also a problem too.
By the way, that doesn't make any sense now that I'm thinking about it geometrically, like that one where they got caught.
There's so many things about this right now that makes no sense.
I mean, like, it makes sense from the perspective of if you're the camera person and you can't see behind you, it doesn't make sense. If you're literally the camera, that would make sense.
It only makes sense in the terms of it's just an arbitrary thing that happens.
I love that. This is like a bad TV show twist, but it's like, it's awesome at being that. Like,
I made the comparison to that one Futurama episode, so yeah.
Which one?
No, I'm in front of you.
Oh.
That's Persona.
Yeah,
That's just what Persona is.